rebound, and the Clippers look to strike here. A 3-on-1 power play if they hurry. George pulls up on the mid-range. It's good.
Brown, he snatched that basketball. No one was getting that one from him.
George for three. Oh, it's 2 shots in a row for George. He has the
Up with an open shot.
Golden State did lead by 24 on Tuesday in Sacramento and lost the game. Clippers looking to battle back as George retaliates. George dives down the lane, challenges Saric inside. Counted
on the other team.
I think there's no question about it. When you're going up against somebody you're very close with, that you respect.
Leonard down 7. Here comes Harden. George, quick move to the basket, takes it to the house and lays it in. 19 for George.
It's a big three. Gonna get the ball out of Harden's hands.
Man, George is open for the 3. It's good. The push. The shot clock is dark. They're down by 2. George wants it all. The 3. Oh, my.
And you have to be on a championship team. Rising for threes, Paul George, and it's the first 3 for the Clippers. Basket yet here from the field in the second quarter. Nice find as Harden hits Paul George. 5 assists early on for James Harden. Behind the back to Leonard in the corner. Paul George, a good look, hits it. And the Clippers have their first lead tonight. A ton in the second quarter. Neither did Westbrook. Just 7 minutes for Westbrook. George switches it through on the turnaround.
Paul George able to make a play. Spacing was.
George gets past Jokic and throws it down. Batted down the pass. Shot clock at 2. George has to hoist it. He does, and he buries a 3. Big shot by Paul George. And the shot clock at 5. George straight away. 3 is good.
What a heads-up play. Paul George has
To beat the Clippers here. 3 minutes gone by in the fourth. George again. 5 threes now for Paul George.
Here's George pulling up and has the touch.
Shooter's role, indeed, guarding him.
Yeah.
But John Collins is sort of his peer in terms of size, right?
Yeah, as George hits the jumper. By the way, Fontecchio missing both of those free throws. Man, the offensive rebound. Here's George, a good look. He got it.
The one thing though I will say about the Clippers threes compared to the Jazz threes, could far.
George shimmies into the paint and cups it in. They're at all in the comeback win against Denver last time out is George. Splash.
The Clippers uncomfortable, as we heard.
Oh, George lays it in, plus the foul. Doesn't have much of a chance against Leonard tonight. Off to George in the corner. He got it. Timeout, Utah. The Clippers. 14-point game. George fading. He got it. 20 for Paul George. Good ball movement here by the Clippers, but a great closeout by Sharp. Just 2 to shoot for George from the nail. Can't do it. Back-to-back buckets in the mid-range for the Clippers. The Clippers have led by as many as 14. It's down to 5. Paul George with a flyby. The 3 is good. First shot was spectacular in that first quarter with 14 points. George, giant steps down the side of the alley, and he lays for Portland. Go to the line 12 times to aid the cause. George sidesteps defenders, floats it up and in. Teeter-totter plus 12 in 13 games and now over 200 minutes. He has been really good when he's on the floor for the Blazers. George hits a 3. And they have found the Clippers. Clippers have been much better in moments like this over the past few weeks as George rises in mid-range. Getting shot. George attacks to the rim and in! First few weeks of the year with a sprained ankle, a 39% career three-point shooter. It will come back. It's never left Paul George. He gets a score. Loose ball up for grabs, goes to Westbrook, but the Clippers don't have a ton of time. Into George! Counted on. Very similar to what we saw in Sacramento. Martin picked up by Murray. 9 to shoot for George. The 3 is true. I'll tell you what, not a whistle. George with 7 to shoot. Down the lane off the window and in. A tough shot for some. They center it to man. Back to George. Stutters, stumbles, recovers, and lays it in. Point turnaround since the first quarter. George trying to get it going. He struggled off the window and in. Paul George now with 6.
That is it.
At 18, he does much of his three-point damage in the corners coming into tonight. 21 of 35 in the corners, but that one was above the break. Good to see. George gets downhill right to the rim. Oh, my goodness.
And there's the steal. Paul George getting his hands in.
Power play if they hurry. George calls his own number. The 3 is good. A 5-0 strike. Now picked up by Randall. 9 to shoot. George, corner 3. Oh, it's good again. His second 3 of the quarter. George on Grimes. Loses the ball. Westbrook. Oh, he delivers it right to George. Defense by Westbrook. Ahead to George. Juggles. Recovers. Oh, some way.
How do you do it? Pops off and picks up the next man. You cannot let them drive all the way clear path to the basket.
Mid-range for George. He puts it in. He's 10. In the NBA. George fires the 3. It's good. That might be the canvas on the game. 1-3.
He has a title. He was the head coach. Yeah, I talked to Brian before the game. Here's George jumping good. Taken by George. He's top 5 in steals. We saw that when he was a Pacer. He does it with the LA Clippers and Paul George. Tied at 16. Westbrook finds George. His 3 is good. Indiana's 25 first quarter points. Isaiah has 11. Brown has 9. Here's George for 3 again.
To get that loop jump shot.
TJ had 10 points and 6 assists Saturday night in Minneapolis. Here's a step back 3 again by George. Called Harden. Now George has it guarded by Toppin. 2.5 to play in the quarter, and George again for 3.
Reaction to that.
Harden looking, finds George. He's been red hot from the top of the key, and it continues. Paul George guarded by Hield. George has another field goal. 11-point Clippers lead at the half. George.
You can see it's kick out to the shooter.
George from the outside, and that 3 is good for Paul George. Second leading. Paul George from the outside. Man got caught underneath. Back up top, George. Good close out by George. Not allowing him to get that 3-point shot off, but George has to work for that too when he had to work hard. And a crack here on Paul George out on the perimeter. Let's see what George does. We got a little push off there. We've seen that shot from Paul George. Harden, almost the exact same spot that he made that last 3, but Zubac, the offensive rebound, the kick out, open 3, Paul George. And all of a sudden, the Clippers really struggling from 3.
That's a great way to kind of end a wonderful career.
Very cool. And coming out of the timeout.
See what happened, folks? Good things happen. Put it in your pocket.
It's a little extra hustle, but Paul George steps into that 3.
So we'll see how long Ty Lue goes with his original game plan defensively, and then you have to make adjustments.
The Clippers do have a couple of equalizers, and Paul George signs his autograph on the game. Boston out in front 8-5.
They spread you out. They have the ability to put the ball on the floor and create shots, and PG launches another 3. Cut without it, and they get rewarded.
George picked up by White. Good defender. Launches from 15, and Paul George is a pretty good offensive player. PG now. Part of our show, Coach Vitello, my friend. I'm very, very happy for you.
Thank you. I am honored to be a part of this show.
Pay off his student loans. Not highly recruited out of high school. Wound up playing in Colorado. Here's George. Knocks down long 2.
Celtics waiting for Harden, make him give the ball up, get it out of his hands.
George, early shot clock, mid-range, it goes. Why Leonard missing this game? George into the paint, it's good. Paul George, 16 for...
New voices that these players are hearing, perhaps some new ideas or new ways of looking at it, and that's really changed things there.
Paul George for 3. That ends at 10 are either three-pointers or at the rim. 82-60. Long two for George. It's good. He's in a zone. Unfortunately,
You like to see some of the better players that have established themselves in this league being able to play at a high level.
George rises and connects. And then some with back-to-backs. George again all alone in the corner. This time he gets it there and knocks it down. Paul George now with 5. And it's the second time they've had that play develop in the last few. George gets a screen from Tice. Given the mid-range, pulls the trigger, knocks it down. Paul George.
Yep. Sending out orders.
George creates space, steps back. That is such a tough shot. It's the second most games played while trailing by double figures in the league. George for 3. It's good.
Shot clock going down.
Harden double team finds George. Hot potato 3. Oh, it's good for George. 15. And the Clippers jump out. Harden. Hayward gives chase, but after Paul George releases.
When it comes down to defensive stops here for the Clippers, no doubt.
Another mid-range for George. It does trickle home for Paul George.
But how comfortable he is going right off that pick and roll and making the play. You know, and that's Paul George coming off. You know what I mean? For a left-handed player.
George in the corner for 3. Bucket! He's been very good. Absence of Morant. Paul George gets his first touch, rises in the mid-range, and the shot is good. And the Clippers are on the board.
There's the long fingers of Jackson knocked it out.
George curls, catches, and connects. Just hit Jackson, but it goes into the ready hands of Amir Coffey.
Run the lanes, you'll be wide open.
George a pull-up 3. Oh, it's good! A confident leaves it to Harden. George all alone for the rhythmic 3. Got it! And Paul.
Just waiting for the explosion from John Moran, whether or not he has enough energy or not. Nice backdoor by Paul George. Harden saw it. The side was wide open. Paul George took advantage by back-cutting his...
Bounded. George ahead of the horn. For Memphis. George. And it goes for Paul George. He's got 18. He's been very special tonight. 13 starting in place of Kawhi Leonard. George contested 15-footer. It is good. Paul George with 21.